Welcome to the Free Woman Podcast, a space for all women who are ready to break free of the inauthentic life.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to our podcast.
Welcome, Free Woman. We are here.
Oh my God, we say this every week, but seriously, it is so hard to show up sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, but every week I am kind of surprised and amazed.
Yeah. Well, this week we are recording a day later because your little guy has been sick and our schedule has been a little off because of it. And we didn't even know if we were going to record today.
Yeah. And for those of you showing up for the visual portion, I apologize. We have there's like a scratch on my camera. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't have the energy for figuring this stuff out sometimes. So there's a little weird thing in the visual. I apologize. And I need to say that so I can stop thinking about it.
Now that you put that out there, it's going to be okay.
We've had our confession. Now we can move forward.
It just looks like you have this beam of light coming in at you. We'll say it's a good sign.
I'm so angelic and divine.
We'll say that.
Yeah, that's what that is. But yeah, my little guy, I have a 3-year-old, and he has had a fever for like 3 days. We've been able to get it down with medicine, but it was as high as 105, and he is very unhappy.
He's very unhappy. He has a little man cold right now.
He's a little man cold. He's a little man sick.
Yeah, even when they're little, they act this way. My daughter is completely different from my son when they get sick. Like my daughter, she just powers through it. She'll ask me for a few things, sometimes not even ask for anything. But my son, it's like I have to wait on him hand and foot. And I'm like, oh,
I know.
It starts at a young age.
Well, let's see. My 16-year-old had a sore bicep.
Oh, yeah.
And had to tell me about it for like 2 days in a row. And he had to walk around with his arm like all weird.
He had to let me know, too. I was just like, are you going to be okay? I think it's because he started lifting weights, right?
He lifted a weight or something. Yeah, but it's true. Then, my daughter gets period cramps that are so bad she's throwing up, and she just goes and lays on the couch and doesn't really say anything.
Doesn't ask for anything.
Different, yeah.
You see it at a very young age, just how different boys and girls are.
Yeah, so my little guy is just... he is angry at the world, and we are in that world, and so we are enjoying that rage.
He's very passionate right now.
Is. Yeah, I had to put him in his room because he was throwing a temper tantrum, and I think he screamed in there for 30 minutes straight, just top of his lungs.
Yeah. I was impressed. I was like, wow, I want to go do that. Can I go scream like that, please?
I know, I've got some things to scream about. Which kind of led Kat and I to talking about motherhood and what motherhood really is versus what we were taught it was growing up.
Well, I guess I had a little bit of a perception too from like the shows I used to watch and like this idea of you're just going to be making cookies and creating arts and craft together and creating these memories. And you do, but man, it is not.
Yeah. Free woman, have you had a fantasy of motherhood? Did you growing up have an image in your head of what that meant? Because I did. I don't know why for me the image was sitting in a rocking chair and reading like a Dr. Seuss book with my adorable little kid. And that was kind of ingrained in my head of what motherhood would be. I don't know if you had an image.
I did. Kind of same thing. I was really excited I kind of said before, like baking and making cookies and doing crafts. And then when I started doing those things with my kids, I was like, never mind. We are not making cookies together. This is madness and chaos. We're not going to do crafts or there's glue and glitter everywhere. And I started to realize a little bit of I didn't think maybe I had OCD, but I think think I do. Because just them making a mess like that was overwhelming.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, there may be a bigger issue with me here, but still, I was like, this is too much. It's not this fantasy of let's do something fun together and create, and we're gonna be laughing and having a good time.
Kind of Sound of Music as
Yeah.
like I thought I would sing songs with my kids and rock them, and they would just love me so much.
And going out and singing together and skipping and just singing like you're in the Sound of Music.
And like, it's okay if you go through hard times, you'll just make clothes out of curtains.
Yeah, not realistic at all. I think I was quite overwhelmed when I realized how not true that is.
Well, and it was like right from the get-go, because yours did too, had health problems.
Yeah, we both had something happen with our first.
I ended up with I had this we do this with labor too. I had this whole dream of what my labor would be like, and I was gonna have this natural birth, and it was gonna be so beautiful and peaceful. But really what happened was at 6 months pregnant, I ended up life flighted to Salt Lake Primary Children's and had an emergency C-section, and didn't even see my baby for, I don't know, 10 hours. And he almost died. His heart, they kept having to restart his heart over and over again. He had they have those paddles, they have them for the NICU, and they're about the size of your thumb.
Oh, so
and so he had
tiny.
tiny thumb burn marks all over his chest because they kept having to jumpstart him.
Oh, that's so... Just your first time.
And then I couldn't hold him. I wasn't even able to hold him because he was in his little container and was too fragile for a few days at least. I think I could put a hand on him. And then he couldn't nurse because he was too weak. And so we immediately had to start him on a bottle. And it was like all of the dream, all of the fantasy, just dead.
Yeah.
And then he ended up being super colicky, which is normal for babies that have a lot of premature babies.
Yeah.
And he also had to be on drugs to regulate his heartbeat to keep it from stopping again like that. And so he was on drugs that I had to give him one every 6 hours and one every 4 hours, and I couldn't miss a dose, and it went straight through the night, and we had to do that for the first 9 months of his life.
You're exhausted because you just had a C-section, a surgery to have this baby, and plus you're in shock because now here you are with this little tiny guy
and all he does is scream at me. And he's just so angry and so uncomfortable all the time. Yeah.
It's a lot. I kind of went through something similar.
Where's my rocking chair?
Yeah, where's my dream?
I was supposed to have this.
Yeah, I ended up having my daughter, and 2 hours later, she started to have a seizure. And I did have a home birth, which is not something I ever fantasized ever. So that was kind of different for me. But as I was pregnant with my daughter and looking at things, I decided that's the route I wanted to go. And I'm actually really glad I did a natural birth because I think it helped keep her heart rate down. In my mind, I think it helped her because I think if she would have been stressed, there may have been more complications during labor. But I had her, and 2 hours later, she started to have a seizure. And so we were just a mile from the hospital. That's another reason why I felt comfortable doing it. And so they took her in, and we were in there for 2 weeks, but same thing. I couldn't hold her. I couldn't stimulate her. She had all these needles in her head because they're trying to figure out what's going on with her because she kept having seizures. And she wasn't a preemie or anything. So she was full size newborn baby, strong. But it was very emotional, and then having to pump milk for her, and I was doing it through the night. And I actually remember so I stayed home after I had her, and her father was at the hospital with her. And that night, I was starting to wonder if I had a baby. Like my mind started to go places, and but because I had went through the labor and had all the pain, I was like, "Oh no, I remember how painful that was. I Something happened." So I asked my ex to send me a picture of her so I could remember I had a baby, and I just kept looking at it all night, and it was just so surprising to me, the shock that I was going through, and then what kind of happens to your brain when you are in shock.
Yeah, I had something similar because I had an emergency C-section and it was obviously premature, so I hadn't had any labor pains, and so I actually had a feeling it's very instinctual and hard to explain. But I remember kind of like coming out of the numbness and laying in the bed, and there's no baby anywhere, and I just feel empty inside, and it's this feeling of like your baby is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so instinctual. It was not, obviously, I knew like cognitively what had happened, but just like my body was telling me like we lost the baby. And so I assumed when I would finally be able to go see him that there'd be some kind of immediate magical mother child connection. But there was not. Like they could have told me any baby in that NICU was the baby and I would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't. And that was so heartbreaking too, to just realize that this all of these ideas that I had had about what it would mean to become a mother for the first time were just wrong. They just were not true, at least not for me, at least not for my situation.
Yeah, I mean, I was having to make like hard choices, and even discuss like there is a possibility that my daughter has like some brain damage from the seizures. And
Yeah, I had that
I
too.
I have a brother that's disabled, and he has cerebral palsy, and he had a stroke when he was a baby. So all I kept like imagining and seeing for my daughter was my brother. And I'm like, I was just in so much shock that I was like, I can't believe my baby might be handicapped, which is, it's fine. You know, I would love her and still take care of her. And I was like, in a way, like, oh, at least I know what it looks like because of my brother. But I was just in so much shock of what my new reality is. And I was like, I can't believe my daughter may be this way. And you just feel so helpless, and you're exhausted from just having a child, and your body is going through so much, your mind is going through so much. And there's very little help, well, at least in my case. Like, instead of really getting support, I just had a lot of people saying they're praying for me, or I had a few women in the family coming in, and all they were doing was like telling me their stories. And I was like, okay, like I love that I can relate to you now, but I'm so overwhelmed right now. Can anyone just let me have this space to be overwhelmed? And can anybody give me a little comfort? It was just a lot to go through that.
Yeah, everyone just kept telling me they were just celebrating because it went from like your baby's not going to survive to he survived. And they were checking him for brain damage as well too, because of he was like basically having mini heart attacks while inside me. And so they weren't sure how that affected him. But yeah, there was just this a celebratory attitude of like, he survived, yay, everyone's fine, this is great. And I'm like, well, everyone's really discounting the fact that we both, him and I, both just went through something very traumatic and we don't know how to process it. And it's, guess what? It's ongoing. It's not just like all better now that he's not dead. And I feel like this is just such a good example. It's like why we're starting with these stories. It's such a good example of the lie of motherhood and how romanticized it is and how celebrated we are without actually being given any tangible support or true empathy for what it is that we are going through, bringing these children into the world and raising them in this world.
Yeah, I think one of the things that also surprised me is when I had my daughter and I held her right afterwards, I had this feeling of, oh no, this overall just like fear of, what do I do now? Like, I have this little child that I'm holding, and I was nervous and scared, but I've always handled those moments of, well, we're going to figure this out and do it. But I also, another thing that surprised me, because I didn't get to hold my daughter for a few days, is, and this may sound really cold to someone that's not been through this, but I didn't love my child. I was like, where's the love that they told me about, this overwhelming feeling of love coming in and excitement? And
it's common with traumatic births. It's also common with first births, first deliveries. And so when you combine the two, it's almost inevitable that there's a kind of almost detachedness or shock that happens. But I remember, like, my little guy was 4 pounds, and he was like, he like fit
so
in my
tiny.
2 hands like this. And they sent me home with him, and I was 21 years old. And I just remember these like medical professionals handing me this baby in this very fragile medical condition. And I'm holding, and they're like, you can take him home now. And I'm like, shouldn't you guys think about this? Like, this doesn't seem like a smart thing for you to be doing. Like, I have no experience. I have no children. I am barely turned 21 2 months ago, and he's in a very fragile state. But sure, I'll figure it out. We'll learn on the go with this tiny human.
Just because you were born with a vagina doesn't mean you automatically know how to take care of a little human being. I know,
that's the other lie, is this idea that all women have this mothering instinct. And in reality, a lot of us are just like, I don't know. So let's figure it out.
Let's figure it out one day at a time.
I love you, and I want you to be okay.
I do want you to survive. And it does. It like slowly
it's
kicks
why
in
tribes, in traditional society, before we've created this, women had that community of mothers to help raise their children, because you don't just automatically know as soon as you pop a baby out everything that you need to do.
Yeah, the other women that have had babies are there to help you and support you. And that was actually one thing.
Maybe ones that are a little more instinctual.
Yeah. That was another lie. That was another thing that really annoyed me, is like, my mom always pushed me, the religion I grew up always pushed me that as soon as you graduate high school, you should be getting married and having kids. I didn't. I was like 28 when I had my first, but I had this idea, this fantasy. I mean, I don't even think it was a fantasy. I just really thought that this was going to happen, is that I was going to have my mother there helping me. And the other women, they're helping me.
I never had that fantasy. I never did.
Well,
my mother constantly said how she didn't like children to her own children. So I don't think any of us really expected that, but I can see why you did.
I did. Well, I guess it's because of shows and movies I watched. Maybe it's because of other...
Well, traditionally, the grandmothers, the aunts, the mothers help the new mother.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. That gives the best outcome for the new baby, right? But that's not the way our society is set up anymore.
Yeah, I was in the hospital. I think it was maybe day 3 after I had my daughter. My mom said she would make me soup and bring it in. And I just had to keep messaging her and confirming, are you actually going to do this? Because I need to eat. And I think it's because I pushed her so much. She finally brought me food, but I thought there was going to be more support. I'm like, I appreciate people reaching out and say they're going to pray for me. But right now what I need is like maybe someone to hug me, some food, maybe someone help me to get some sleep. Like, I just could not believe the lack of help that I received.
Well, I feel like the lies too, even with delivery, and the lies that are given to mothers from both sides, from the medical side of delivery and from the holistic side of delivering, like the natural birth community, like both of them are portraying this fantasy or this fairy tale.
Yeah.
And the idea that everything will be able to go a certain way and be controlled 100% if you go through a doctor is a lie. And the idea that if you go holistic natural birth, that everything's going to be like so gentle and peaceful and healthy is also a lie, because I have done both.
You've done both.
I've had
Yeah.
C-sections. I've had I had an epidural with my C-section. I've also had natural deliveries in the hospital. I've had a home birth. I had almost a water birth in the hospital, and every single one of them went completely different than we thought they were going to go. And every single birth was completely different from the one before. You know, like my second child, he came 3 weeks early, all on his own. My water broke. My last child, 2 weeks overdue.
Yeah.
And like they say each birth is going to get shorter. Well, my last birth was one of my longest births, my fourth baby. And
I know.
So
I'm so sorry. That
feel like I'm lied to constantly
Yeah.
by these quote professionals on what to expect.
Well, I feel like, isn't that our world now, though? Everything has to have a deadline, a date, a time.
And if it doesn't go according to plan, the blame is put on the mother.
Yeah.
Of like, well, you must not be relaxing enough. You must not be doing your Kegel exercises or taking your supplements or doing your whatever you're supposed to be doing. And are you too stressed? Have you been walking every day? It's just this like women are not given the room to breathe.
Women just need to know that they have the power, and they need to learn to listen to their bodies and trust that, and get those doctors out of there that make you feel small and like you can't do it.
Or midwives.
Midwives, whatever it is. I hate how, I remember when I told a doctor I was going to do natural birth for my second, because I was like, well, I already did it for my first one. Why not do it again?
Yeah.
And they just like laughed at me. But then I'm like, well, I did it with my first. And they were like, oh. And now every time, like, just for example, like I was dating for a little while. I'd go on dates, and I would talk to a man. I don't know why. Sometimes I'd have to say, I have 2 kids, and somehow birth would come up, and they'd be like, oh, I bet, the epidural was great. And I'm like, well, I didn't do that. I gave birth to my children naturally, and they all look so shocked. And I'm like,
well, it's this minimizing of women that happens. And I feel like that it's this funny thing, this contradiction that we do with women, where we put them on pedestals. We're like, wow, you guys are so amazing, so self-sacrificing, the glue of the family, the glue of society. But then like when it comes to the reality, we're talked down to, we're diminished, we're minimized. And what we want, we're told we don't know what we want. And you see that in labor too. Whether you want to go natural or you want the epidural, there's always someone telling you that you're wrong.
yeah, they're trying to make you feel crazy. They're trying to confuse you. It's just like, people just stop talking, go away.
Well, and that's why it's funny, because everyone thinks I'm going to be this huge like proponent of natural birth, because I had 3 of mine without any pain medicine. And I'm like, actually, no, I'm not, because that was awful. And, one of them actually ended up being a really great experience, but the other 2, it wouldn't have been such a bad thing.
Well,
like, especially my first natural labor was 44 hours or something. It was like 2 days long. It took forever because it was my first time, and there's a whole story there. But I, at the end of it, felt really defeated. I felt just weak. I felt broken by the experience. I did not feel supported or loved or empowered. And I could barely hold my baby. I was so weak from blood loss. And after that experience, I was just like, I don't know if it's right to be pushing natural birth on women, because some births are not within the realm of normal.
Yeah, well,
sometimes things like forceps, there's all these different things that can become a part of that experience, because it's unpredictable. It's every time it's a new experience, and we put so much pressure and shame on women. And I remember telling women I had gone natural, and them being like, oh, wow, you must be so tough, or you must be so strong. Like I was trying to prove something by doing it. Like I was trying to prove I was better than other women. And I'm like, no, actually, I didn't feel that way about it. And that's not why I did it.
And then they look even more shocked.
I actually would, unless you're really passionate about it, I would recommend the epidural because it's really, really painful.
It is. It's a very painful. Well, I wish that they would just, why can't we just merge the two together? Like, I know women that did a lot of like the labor.
Well, it's this war between, right, midwifery and doctors or medicine that's been going on since what, the 1800s? No, since the witch hunts.
Well, I don't know. I would say that, well, yeah, probably. I'd have to do a little bit more research.
Yeah, no,
on that,
they came after the midwives because it was a way that women were, it was a way they had power.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I do know that women started laying on their back to give birth because of a king that like started because a king wanted to see his child being brought to the world. And so that's when that started. But I think in the 1900s is when like the midwives were really eliminated from
practice.
being the practice. That's when they started to portray them as like witches, and then we started going to male doctors, and I'm like, what did they know? They've never pushed a baby out.
Yeah, it's I think that maybe that's the whole problem with this illusion of motherhood is that we're not hearing about what motherhood actually is from women who are in the trenches. Mm-hmm. I think that has shifted in the past decade with social media. I think there's a lot of women out there who are trying to portray a more like healthy view of what this actually is and how hard it is and how stressful it is. But it feels like there was this kind of fairy tale portrayed not by the women who were actually going through it. And then there's this shame that women who are maybe having a less than stellar experience raising children felt because that was not their story. And it's like birth is just one example of that, right?
Yeah. I actually was just thinking about movies that I used to watch as a kid where the mom goes into the hospital and then she's holding this like almost like 2-month-old looking baby in her arms, and she looks so beautiful.
Her hair is like curled.
Yeah, she looks great. And she's in the wheelchair and everybody's just so happy. And, you know, the men are sharing cigars. And I just remember I couldn't wait for that fantasy. And then, no, you do not fit back into your regular clothes afterwards. You look like you went through war.
I looked like I had been ran over by a semi. I remember just laying there and they like hand me my baby and I'm just like, can you just hose me down?
I know.
Like I wasn't sure I had the strength to even go stand in the shower. I'm like, can someone just get a hose and just spray me off?
Yeah, there was this article I found a few years back, and I can't remember which culture does this, but when a woman has a baby, a community of women come together, like the family and the neighbors, and the first 2 weeks, she's not allowed to do anything. They massage her feet, they massage her body, they make her teas, they cook for her, they care for the baby so she can sleep and recover. And it was almost... it seems like there was like a training for it, because it seems like they're trying to build this new idea of community, or bring it back, community, to help women to recover after they have the baby, so you don't go cuckoo.
Even being able to get maternity leave, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're supposed to, and there's all this pressure of getting your body back too, and it's just so, man, though, just the things we do to mothers.
I know. I think I'm still recovering from my first child's
If you
birth.
want a healthy outcome in children, then you have to take care of the mental health of mothers and fathers, because how are we supposed to be there for the emotional needs of our children if we're going cuckoo in our own head?
Oh, I know.
there's a monkey playing cymbals in there.
Well, God, I mean, your body goes through that huge shift of growing a child inside you, giving birth, and then you don't have that anymore inside you. Your hormones are changing so much. Your brain is like trying to adjust to all of this. And then, yeah, of course you're going to get
shock.
Of course you're going to get postpartum depression or
and then you're supposed to be back in your pregnancy genes within 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, that did not happen
either.
It
did not. It is so disheartening. It's just, you feel like you're failing on multiple levels. And then you see all these portrayals of mothers in this like angelic depiction. I mean, whether it's like Christianity and the Holy Mother, right? Like Mary with Jesus, or it's just like TV and these beautiful family systems that are portrayed with the mother doing it all and somehow being super skinny, having a career, and feeding the children. And it's just
managing the entire household.
Sitting down to have those heartfelt discussions with their children. And then in your life, it just looks like a hurricane came through and you're stepping on toys and you haven't showered in days and you're wearing sweatpants because none of your clothes fit.
Yeah.
And the baby is screaming.
Yeah, I remembered I had a little carrier so I could carry my baby with me wherever I went, like a little rocking one. And then I'm like, I'm in the bathroom. I just, I'm gotta go pee. And I'm like, just rocking. I'm like, it's okay. Give me a minute. I'll pick you up in a minute. Let me just go to the bathroom. And
yeah, it's why it really was meant to be a community that's raising this child. But then we got sold on this lie and it got all put on mothers. And then if there's anything, wrong with the children, they're acting out or whatever, then that's put on the mothers too.
Well, and then instead of really getting like the actual physical support I needed from the women in my family, I instead just started being told what I should be doing and not be doing to be raising these children the right way. And I'm like, please shut up.
This is why Disney stops after they get married.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't need to see Cinderella with a baby.
No, let's not show her. That trauma's gonna come out. She's gonna snap.
She's not gonna be able to sing with the birds anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's
she's just gonna be crying.
She's just gonna be crying all the time.
The little mice are not gonna be cleaning babies' diapers.
No, they're not. Well, and that's another thing too, is like you have these babies, and if you have like trauma inside of you, that is going to come out too. Like your patience. Well,
and you will.
Everybody.
Because they just tell you in our society, we repress. And growing up in our generation, in 90s, early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of emotional intelligence being taught. And so then you pop out a baby and guess what?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually realized
you have a little bit of a mental breakdown, maybe.
Yeah, I started to realize I had some issues when I had my children. So I am grateful for that. Like I learned that because of my kids. I have done so much of my work because I had kids. And then I was like, I'm not doing to them what happened to me. But man, it's not been
ideally
easy.
That becomes the motivation rather than, repeating the trauma cycle. It's the motivation to do your work so that you can give your kids something better than what you had.
Yeah, but it's
then
not
there's
easy.
No support.
No.
And, because of our trauma, we both married abusive men.
Yeah, well.
And so then that gets factored into the situation of raising kids too.
Yeah, and then you end up, divorcing them, and then you have to co-parent them, and God, that lasts the rest of your until they graduate.
Lied to.
We were so lied to.
We are here to file a complaint. This was not what we were told.
I am so angry about this.
Well, and before we be, too hard on ourselves for marrying abusive men, I feel like that a lot of women do this because for one, the abusive men don't tell you they lie. They're just liars.
They're usually
they're liars and they're charming and they're going to love bomb you.
Yeah. I mean, I just started realizing this. Obviously when I got divorced 7 years ago, I was like, something's wrong. I can't stand him anymore. I'm not in love with him anymore. My body's reacting to him.
Abuse does not always look like them punching you in the face.
No.
It can be just slowly devaluing you. It can be minimizing you. It can be treating you like you're a burden, like you're dumb, like you're not needed. And so it's...
Well, they have to teach you to like codepend on them too.
Yeah.
Like that's something I've been watching all these narcissist videos lately because I'm still trying to put the puzzle pieces together from my marriage.
Well, and our society normalizes so much of that, that like traditional masculinity is seen as men with tempers, or they're seen as leaders, or they're seen as strong, but really what it is it's
like the man of the house, and he makes all the choices. And I really believe that because I was brought up in that. Like, my dad was the head of the house, even though he was an
all
abusive
of the
prick.
things that were red flags I saw as traditional masculinity. And I felt like this is what I want. You know, I want someone who's going to be a protector. I want
Yeah.
someone who's going to like stand up for us and have that like energy to him. It's too bad that it actually was just red flags of abuse.
Yeah. Well, what I realized is like, I had this confidence in me when I was younger, and this like wildness and just this personality. And obviously my ex was drawn to that. And I don't even think that I was in love with him for a long time. I just thought I was, because I was doing what I thought was correct. Like, this guy really likes me. He's telling me he loves me. And I was excited someone actually was interested in me. And so I was like, okay, I think I love him. So I fell for this guy who I thought was just amazing and charismatic and charming. But what I didn't realize is like what they do is they capture you, and then they slowly they get to really know you. They start to take your insecurities and using them against you, belittle you, make you feel small. They gaslight you constantly. And then you're just always confused, and you doubt yourself all the time. And then it's almost, I mean, to me, I was just so involved with him by this time, by the time this all started happening, and I started to see the lies, the red flags. And because I was told, once you find the one, you have to stay with him forever. And I just kept telling myself, well, this is the choice we made. We made this choice. We're with him now. And
yeah, there weren't other options presented. And I think that we see that with mothers in general, that we find ourselves in this position where we have children and realize our partner's not going to show up. Whether that shows up as like traditional abuse where they're hitting you, or it's more covert, or maybe they just aren't mature and they presented themselves as being ready for this. But now that it's down to the wire and it's getting real fast, they're not. They're not showing up.
And society kind of excuses it. Well, this is just what men do.
Or they put it on the woman.
Yeah.
Once again, it's our fault. We chose poorly. We should have been more discerning. We shouldn't have been such a skank, whatever it is. And so then it's put on us. So not only are we given this monumental task of raising this tiny human, we're doing it without the support of even a partner.
Yeah.
And we don't have the community support. He's not showing up. And suddenly, where's the fairy tale of sitting in my rocking chair with Dr. Seuss in one hand and my little beautiful child in my other hand? It's just obliterated.
Shattered. Instead, you're just crying, eating ice cream in a corner.
Trying to figure out how you're going to feed and house your children.
Yeah.
And I think that we're not the only ones that feel massively betrayed by how motherhood was portrayed to us in the 90s and early 2000s, how we were led towards this, how we were told we would always regret not having children. Obviously, we love our children. We're glad they're here, but it is not what we were told it would be.
Well, going back to that, like hands down, love my children. I'm so grateful for them, because becoming a mother is what showed me the power I have inside me. I think that's actually what started to shift me with my ex-husband, is I started to realize how strong I was and how I could just handle hard stuff and figure things out. And I think my body just started to push back of all the years of betrayal of like from him and from myself. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I can't do this lie anymore. And because of basically raising my kids almost on my own, because my ex worked all the time and then would go play on the weekends, I just was like, you know what? I've worked in the past. I know how to work. I'm raising these kids basically on my own already. We can do this. It's scary. I don't know how I'm going to do it all the way.
I think that's the part that was missing from the narrative of, yes, motherhood. It's so divine, right? This like portrayal of the gentle, submissive, constantly loving woman who will just endure any amount of injustice and just love her kids unconditionally. I think that was one of the biggest wake up calls for me is that no, like motherhood is actually like being a badass. And it's what we need more than anything with our children is this strength, this showing up. And yes, we love them unconditionally, but that doesn't mean we put up with like toxic behavior. That doesn't mean we have no boundaries. That doesn't mean we self-sacrifice to the point of having nothing left for ourselves. And so learning to choose myself within even the relationship with my kids was such a huge, just mind-blowing moment. It felt like jumping off a cliff, but it also changed everything. And helped my kids start to learn to respect women, but also how to have their own boundaries with other people, that their needs mattered. It's like, if I don't act like my needs matter, how is my daughter ever going to learn that her needs matter? How is my son ever going to learn that women matter,
that you're
separate from serving him?
not just an object, or like, or just you're here to serve him. It's like, no, I need this right now, and you need to give me space.
Yes.
I didn't realize motherhood was going to be
saying no.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Like in a day of taking care of like toddlers, or like even now like teenagers, the amount of inner strength and like strength. There's like a storm and you have to stay calm.
Yes.
And it is exhausting, because obviously I'm feeling a lot of things. I want to react a certain way, but I just know I need to stay calm, listen to my child or my teenager, and then react in a very, in a way that's not going to make them feel like they're being attacked, but like, let's actually communicate. We're teaching communication.
It's kind of like you're in a battleground of emotions, of their emotions, of your emotions, of everyone's stuff. And you're needing to not only manage yourself, but to like teach them through example how to have boundaries, how to express healthily, how to teach them emotional intelligence. And it's brutal because everybody is triggering everybody.
Oh yeah. Well, and the kids just think,
your kids are going to come with the perfect recipe to trigger all your shit.
Yeah. Well, and then like we were saying earlier, we all have trauma, and if we don't like acknowledge that or take care of our own emotional needs or things that happened to us when we were kids, your patience is so much shorter, and you end up just exploding or not handling situations in a very mature, healthy way with your kids.
Well, and I feel like that we were really modeled codependent mothering, and realizing that my children are separate from me, that they are their own people, that they are going to walk their own paths, have their own interests, that they're going to make choices that I don't like, that I might really be upset by, but that is their prerogative. I don't get to make them mini me. I don't get to put little puppet strings on them and make them walk the way I want them to walk, you know? That was a huge realization for me as well.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of kids just end up rebelling, is because that's what parents do.
Or having midlife crises because they've lived this formula that the parents told them they had to live to receive love.
And and then they don't even know who they are. And then one day they just, like you said, have like a midlife crisis, and they're just like, I don't even know what's going on with me. I mean, that's actually like what I went through just before my divorce. It was like all my childhood trauma just all of a sudden came up, and I had to like figure out, I have to figure this out now, because I don't know what's going on here. And I started like seeking help, and I started working on myself, but it was because I never got what I needed as a kid. And then now as an adult, I have to teach myself how to take care of me in a way that I never was taken care of as a kid. And I'm trying to do that for my children too. And that's another thing, is like, as a parent, you're trying to like teach them these healthy things.
It's a brutal process.
Yeah, we're trying to teach them healthy patterns. We're trying to break at least I am. I'm trying to break the cycles that I came with.
There's a lot of things that were never modeled for me that I'm just like learning on the fly, trying to model them in a healthy way for my kids.
Yeah, and then the whole world around us is just gaslighting us, or like my family, who, if you've watched our episodes before, are extremely toxic.
Yeah.
And
And our exes
our
are
exes.
counter-parenting us while we're trying to teach emotional maturity. They're teaching emotional immaturity.
Yeah.
They're like, if you just play this game right, you could not be responsible for any of the things that are your fault.
And they're like, ooh, this is kind of tempting. Daddy does it and
I
gets away
know.
with it, and everybody loves him.
And meanwhile, mom's trying to teach personal accountability and taking responsibility for the consequences of your choices.
Yeah, so maybe they have a chance in adulthood.
But they are their own people, and they get to make their own choices.
They do.
And if I want to be a healthy mother, I have to respect those choices, even if it means that I'm going to play a certain character in their story. That I think has been heartbreaking too. And I think a lot of people have realized this if they've gone down the co-parenting route, is that our children are going to have a different view of certain experiences, stories, things that have occurred than we will. And they are their own person, and they get to navigate their own journey, and we don't get to force our narrative on them.
Well, I think another thing too, kind of like branching off with that, the hard thing about being a mother is the realization that you may have to set a hard boundary with your child and tell them no, because they're making choices that are not healthy for the rest of the family or the children. And you might have to make the hard choice of that child maybe possibly not being in your home anymore. That was never taught to me. I mean, actually, I wish that would have happened, because I had a very toxic brother that was extremely abusive, and the house did not feel safe.
That you had been protected.
I wish I had been protected, but because of that, I now know if that is going to happen, I am going to be the protector I never got. And that is the hardest, most painful choices that you have to make as a mom. And that was never portrayed to me ever at any time, that motherhood is actually, like you said earlier, is you have to have boundaries. You have to say no. It's being this really strong person.
Yeah, it's this aspect of the feminine that is not very popular in our society, and that's this very strong warrior. And, we might not do it with a sword, but we do it by knowing our own worth and our own value, and refusing to tolerate mistreatment and abuse towards ourselves. And it feels like you're a badass warrior sometimes when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Xena, warrior princess.
I used to watch that. La, 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 la.
I know.
Xena.
Yeah, and you don't think of Xena when you think of motherhood, but we should.
We should. Let's start putting that in there. Not only the mother holding and cradling the baby in the rocking chair.
It's not Cinderella and Snow White. No. It is Xena, warrior princess.
Yes, yeah, you got to be badass and strong like her. And you're raising these children and getting them ready and prepped for this world that we live in.
We do not live in a soft world.
No.
We do not live in a gentle world. They have to understand.
They have to know who the predators are.
And they have to know how to value themselves and not fall for that shit.
I know. Well, that's another thing too, is when you have a toxic person that you're co-parenting with, your kids, for me, my kids, I can just see the insecurities in them. I can see the negativity in them. And I'm I know where this is coming from, because I had the same thing. And so I'm constantly trying to show them how important they are, how smart they are, and that they do matter. And let's try something that will excite you. I want you to feel excited about life. But when you have a selfish co-parent and their world just evolves around them, it's hard.
Kids are often drawn to chasing love from the parent that is toxic, because they know that you're going to be there no matter what. They instinctually know that, and so they'll chase the toxic one.
Well, what was it that you said the other day? You said something about kids need their parents. They need an adult. So even if they're being abused, they're still going to go back to their abuser, because they just depend on their parents so much.
There is something deeply, deeply wired in our psychology. We understand very instinctually that having our parents is going to keep us alive, is going to keep us safe, is going to keep us fed. And so even if that parent is toxic, is abusive, is shaming, we will do anything to try to get safety, security, and love from that parent. And so it's unfortunately something that stays wired in our psychology pretty much forever. And so even if you've gone no contact, even if you've created distance with a toxic parent, that lack is always going to be there. That longing is always going to be there.
The grief is just there. I mean, I am going through it. I sometimes feel great, and sometimes I just
Yeah.
I have to
Another
cry.
way that, we, I think, feel betrayed is that traditional view of the mother who loves you unconditionally, who is always there, who's soft, who's going to sing you that song while you're sick and run their fingers through your hair and just love on you
and protect
make you
you.
chicken noodle soup. Yeah, that's not there.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not. And we have to learn to be strong and mother, even though we were never given that.
No. Yeah, and so now I have a choice, and my choice is to do it different with my kids. My choice is to do my inner work, to find awareness in me every day and how I'm going to react to my children. My choice is to protect them, to teach them and educate them about the mind, their feelings or emotions. Yes, if you need to have a reaction, let's have a
About
reaction.
toxic relationships and abusers, so hopefully they don't end up raising kids with a toxic person like we did.
Yeah, because if you grow up with that, you tend to go right directly into the same
once
thing.
again, they're their own people. They might make that choice. But our job as a mother is to do everything in our power to teach them so that they actually have a choice.
You have choices.
You can present
say
another
no.
way.
Yeah, I thought when I was younger, I thought I just had to accept any man or boy, because let's face it, I was 18, this boy giving me attention and he was making me feel like I was worth something. So I fell into this very long, toxic life with a partner that could have been avoided if I actually knew all I needed was what I had inside me. If I knew my worth, my value, and loved myself, and had loving parents too, to make me feel like I had a place to go back to. And so it's really hard grieving what maybe you didn't get and realizing the dream is a lie. But what I got is some pretty fucking good knowledge and wisdom that I'm passing down to my kids. And they still have a choice. They're going to make their choices, but I hope, because of what I've been through and what I'm trying to teach them and show them, and them even watching me go through it, hopefully it gives them maybe another head start.
I was going to say they're coming at those major life choices from a much better place than you were. And I think that's the dream of every mother, is to just be able to give her kids just a little bit of a leg up compared to what she had.
Yeah.
So, free woman. Do you feel lied to? Has this been part of your journey? Have you encountered this? Have you chosen to not have children because of this? Or have you found yourself just being a Xena warrior princess and feeling like it's never enough because it isn't, because of how the world is set up? It's almost like they set women up to fail.
It feels that way. I mean, you and I have both been through divorce and poverty and homelessness, and
they have set everything up for us to fail. It's in the cards. It's in the stars. It's how they aligned it. And then once you're in that place of struggling, they point the finger at you and say it's your fault.
Do better. Maybe you should go get another job.
Yeah, you should have figured that out. You should have chosen better. You should have been smarter.
There's just all this shaming that comes around it, and just such a lack of empathy and help. And it's, how are you supposed to rise up out of something when you have nothing? and no support, no love, no community, and you're still trying to raise children.
So for what it's worth, you have the community of us talking into this mic every Wednesday.
That is what we're here for. That's why we started it, and that's why we're going to keep showing up.
Nothing else, you know that other women have had these thoughts and have been through these things.
And you're not wrong.
You are not wrong. You are not crazy. And you know what? You are a badass Xena warrior princess.
Remember to like and subscribe.